Welcome to Eyes on Books. I'm so glad you're joining us this morning, and I think you'll enjoy our show. We are here today to tell you about a new novel by an author you may have heard of before. My name is Elaine Schnitter, and my co-host today is Jonathan Williams. The author is going to join us, which will be pretty exciting for us to have a live author here. And her book is entitled 6 Days in Bombay. This is her fourth novel. She has written a trilogy previously, and some of you may have read her trilogy in your book groups. Her first novel was The Henna Artist, and perhaps you have heard of that. So I'm going to let Jonathan start off by telling you about the book, and then after we introduce you to the story, our author, Alka Joshi, will show up, and we'll talk to her in person. Okay, Jonathan.
Thank you. I'm so excited about this. I really, really like this book. It was tremendous. So let me give you a little bit about the book. 6 Days in Bombay. Puzzling, but it works out wonderfully. So it's a story of a young woman named Sona Falstaff, who is a nurse, a night nurse, at a small hospital in Bombay. So it's her story. So the book opens with her interacting with a particular patient who has a profound influence on Sona and the events of the story. The book actually begins with the name Mira, and it ends with the same word, Mira, frames the story. Well, as a night nurse, she is half British and half Indian. Her father was British, her mother is Indian, and she struggles finding a place in her world. She's what they called in India a half-half, which is a little bit lower status, but she's a remarkable person. We learn that the first 6 days of the book, it's called 6 Days in Bombay, that's when the whole setup happens. What happens after the 6 days is astonishing. She goes on a journey through Europe and England, a journey of self-discovery. It's a wonderful story about someone we care deeply about.
The story takes place in 1937, which is also an interesting historical time period, especially in Europe. Mm-hmm. And Sona leads quite a sheltered life. Her mother is a seamstress, and they basically just subsist. And Sona, through her job as a night nurse, is able to supplement her mother's income, and they can survive in a small space, very basic living arrangements. And she depends on her job. Her father is gone out of the picture. After she was born, he left India and went back to England. And that's why she is looked down on in some regard, because first of all, she's called a halfy-halfy, and then her father is not in the picture. So she definitely occupies a lower status from some of the girls she's in school with.
Alka Joshi gives us such a close-up picture of life in India at this unique time. This is when the British had colonized India for quite some time. And this is the point at which things are starting to change. The Indians are taking national pride and wanting more self-rule and independence. It's rather a fraught time. Again, it's between the wars. So we know the war is coming. Throughout the novel, as we visit various places, we see signs of the coming conflict. But in the relationship that's most formative in the story is between Sona, the nurse, and Mira, who is a remarkable artist who was born in Czechoslovakia, who traveled around Europe becoming a well-known artist, and then decided to move to Bombay and feature Indian stories, the Indian people in her paintings.
Yeah, and it was interesting. She chose to paint the everyday people in India, the people she came in touch with on an everyday basis, and that those were the subjects of her paintings. Mira was very well known and had paintings that she left behind, and that's also the basis of the continuing story, as Jonathan mentioned.
Something special happens very early on. Mind you, this is just 6 days in Bombay where this is all taking place. From the time Mira is admitted to the hospital until the end, and then the friendship that develops between the two of them. Mira sees something in Sona, and Sona is very much awakened and interested in who this person is and what kind of a life she may have had. The friendship between them is the crux of the story. After Mira passes away, Sona goes on a remarkable adventure to give 3 paintings to artists in Prague, in Paris, in Florence, Italy. What a journey of discovery.
Yes, and she, as she travels, she uncovers Mira's story.
Yes.
She gets a different perspective of Mira in each of these 3 locations where she meets up with Mira's friends. And it's interesting how she was perceived.
Yeah, absolutely, Elaine. That's like so right. Would you really put your finger on it? Because you think you know Sona, you think you've learned a little bit about Mira, but as Sona takes her journey through Europe and the people she encounters, their lives and the intersection of their lives with Mira, the things she learns about Mira and the other artists, and then in turn, things she learns about herself.
Yes, and I think that's a big part of the story. Sona lived a very sheltered life, just trying to have subsistence survival with her mother as a single parent, and she really could never go anywhere. She thought about the fact that she would like to at some point. She had a very limited wardrobe to go out in. But the one character I really liked was a gentleman who was also a patient at the hospital. He was also a physician. His name was Dr. Stoddard. And he taught Sona how to play backgammon.
and other games.
Yes. And he saw something in her that he knew should be pursued. He saw that she was a bright girl and perhaps needed to see more of the world. And he actually facilitated quite a bit of it.
He did. There's something about Sona, the character, that I find so admirable. I searched around for various descriptive words. She had perseverance. But I ended up, after all that, with one dominant description: brave. She had bravery.
She was brave.
She was brave.
Yes.
Which doesn't mean undaunted, it doesn't mean confident necessarily, but the next important step, she always took that next step. She was forthright, she was brave. What a remarkable character. I just admire her so much.
And she had a lot of compassion. She had a coworker.
Good point.
Who was suffering from domestic abuse. And she actually went to her home and was confronted by the husband, who was not a very pleasant person. He was not happy with his wife, the coworker, her name was Indira, because she had had children, but they were all girls, and he wanted a son. So she was not treated very well. And Sona was not afraid to go there and confront him. It kind of backfired because the girl ended up in more trouble because of this visit.
But you're right. Those two words, I think, are dominant. Bravery, as I said, and compassion. The thing that attracted Sona to these people is that compassion. She was, they meant something. They were patients in the hospital. I'm sure the majority of staff treated them as patients. For Sona, they were people. And that's what sparked the relationship. In just 6 days in Bombay, the relationship that formed between Mira and Sona is remarkable. And that starts the whole journey forward. And you know what? Not to give too much away, but the book ends in 1956, 19 years later. And the change in all of their lives is remarkable.
The change in the whole world is quite remarkable. By 1956, it's a new era all over the world, not only in Europe post-war, but also in India. It's changed.
Elaine, I'm so excited. In just moments, we're going to introduce our author, Alka Joshi. I think you have so much to look forward to. I'm excited about it. I want to hear so much more about her and the story that we're sharing today. And now the next chapter of Eyes on Book Show. We'll welcome Alka Joshi here in person. We're so excited to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is the end of a little bit of a tour for you, but we're glad you stopped here. We're excited to share your book. I've already given, in the earlier part of our show, a little bit of an overview of the book.
Okay.
So what would you like to begin to tell us? How about your journey as an artist, and what was something you wanted to share about this special character?
Oh, in 2019, I was in New Delhi in India, and I went to the National Gallery of Modern Art. My BA is in art history, and I've always been very interested in art, artists, visiting museums all over the world. So as I was visiting this museum, I ran across all of these paintings by a woman named Amrita Sher Gill. And the paintings were beautiful. I just adored them. They were all painted in the 1930s. And I thought, wait a second, why have I never heard of this particular woman before? And also, what happened to her after the 1930s? Why are there no other paintings here? So I bought a bunch of books at that museum, and I started doing research on her. I got a little waylaid because I was supposed to be also working on my second book for HarperCollins, and so I started working on that book, put this project aside for a while. Then after that one came out, they wanted a third book in the series. I did another book in the series, and so that became the Jaipur trilogy. Then finally, I had a chance to go back and do a story about Amrita Sher Gill. I'm not a biographer, so I didn't want to spend, 10 years doing research and reading every little letter that had been written by her or for her or whatever. And so I thought I'd like to fictionalize her story, and let's start with her death because it is unexplained. In 1941, Amrita Sher Gill was 28 years old. She showed up at a hospital with some abdominal pain. And suddenly, in 2 days, she was in a coma. She died. And so I thought, well, that solves one of the mysteries of why I've never heard of her. If a woman dies at the age of 28 and she's only completed so many paintings in her lifetime, and the year was 1941, it was such a long time ago that she's been sort of largely forgotten by history. So how can I, through fiction, bring her to life to make sure she is not forgotten, but also how can I solve this mystery of her death through fiction? Because I just found that so fascinating. She was so young, so vibrant, so full of life. How did she die in 2 days like this? So that is how I started writing 6 Days in Bombay. And the 6 days refers to the fact that there's a nurse who is taking care of her in the hospital for 6 days, this famous painter who comes in. And the nurse finds out a lot about this painter. When the painter dies, she bequeaths the nurse 4 paintings. And these 4 paintings with a note that says, you must deliver these to my former friends and lovers in Prague, in Florence, and in Paris. Well, now the nurse has a quest that she must deliver on, and through doing this, through this journey, she's going to figure out how that painter died, why she died, and maybe even solve the mystery of the nurse's own very mixed parentage.
Wow, all in a nutshell. Yeah, a quite amazing story in itself. And the travels through these cities was very interesting. And how the nurse, Sona, found out so much about Mira, the artist, as she was traveling along, different perspectives of her.
Yes.
From her various friends.
Exactly. And so I thought, okay, in 1937, which is the setting of the book, there's no Siri, there's no internet. How do you find somebody? Like now it's so easy for us. And so this is what I do whenever I write a book. I try to find academicians, archivists, experts in that particular period of history. And so this is what I did when I went to Prague. I found Martina, who is a professor at the Czech Academy of Sciences. And she came to me through a series of different referrals. And she is born and bred Prague, loves Prague history. So she met me at the train station, and I said, all right, let's pretend I am the nurse. Where am I going to go to find this woman in Prague? The only thing I know about her is her first and last name. And Martina said, we'll go to the British Embassy because your main character, Sona, is half British, so she must have a British passport. They will help her. So we walk over to the British Embassy. Then we have an opportunity to describe the British Embassy, right? So I do that in the book. Then I said, now maybe she needs to go, grab a cup of coffee and a pastry. Where would she go? And Martina said, oh, we'll go across the National Gallery. That's where all the artists used to hang out, and she'll find out some of Mira's friends there and find out more about her. So this is what I do. In Florence, I met with an art historian who is a professor at the University of Milan. And so he knew a lot about this particular artist and maybe where she had studied in Florence, and he walked me through all of Florence to do that.
Nice.
Same thing in Paris. I met with a photo archivist who showed me all these photos from 1937 Paris and told me to go to the area of Montparnasse in France, in Paris, where all of the artists used to hang out. Fitzgerald, Hemingway, all the young writers used to hang
Picasso,
out.
I think, was there.
Picasso was there, Matisse was there, Braque was there. Yeah, so it was a fascinating sort of travelogue that I got to write about. But as I'm going through these settings, each of these experts is teaching me something that I cannot just easily glean from a history book. They're telling me little anecdotes that then make their way into the book.
Yeah, personal contact, right? Yeah, nothing like that.
Elaine, that makes you want to be a writer. The adventure of it, the ability to travel, the discovery, and then modeling a character on a real person.
Yeah.
And earlier, Elaine and I observed that the character is such a brave person and compassionate. But you also use the word quest, which is a very important dimension in the story.
Yes. So, I think I was telling you earlier that readers often give me insights that I hadn't even gleaned myself. One reader said to me, in the way that Amrita Sher-Gill inspired you or empowered you to write a story about her, in that same way, the protagonist, Mira, the famous painter in the book, empowers Sona, the nurse, to get outside of her comfort zone, to go into other countries that she has never been to before, and to take chances. This is what Sona learns, is that there is power in taking chances. Even if you fail, and she fails in a couple of instances, even when you fail, you learn something from that, and you use that knowledge to progress to the next part of your life. And for me, I think of all of the characters in my books, this character of Sona is the closest to me that I have created. Because I think I was also somebody so afraid to take chances when I was little. And, you know, I was shy, I just painted, I drew, I hid away from people all the time. And so this idea of being able to now have a voice and communicate through my books these ideas that I have, or lessons in growth and enlightenment, I think that we all get. This is a phenomenal opportunity for me to do that. And like Sona, I have grown a lot through these experiences that I've had.
And you did have to come into a new culture as a child.
Yes.
And so you could relate to some of this. Yeah.
Yeah. In 1967, when we first came to America, we were at Iowa State University in Ames, Iowa. And it was not a place where many people had seen brown faces before. And so they were very curious about us, but they were also very not very knowledgeable about where India was, what India was all about. The first things they would ask us is, "Oh, you're Indian, so what tribe are you?" Yeah. And,
oh my gosh.
you know, or the kids would make woo 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 faces, you know, like how they used to do.
Wow.
And so we didn't understand. We were so flabbergasted, like they knew so little about India. And then there was this idea. You know, I was 9 years old. I enter a classroom. Nobody wants to sit next to me. Nobody wants to sit next to me on the bus. And it was because I smelled funny. I smelled like curry because that's what my mother cooked at home. It has a very distinctive smell, and they had never smelled it before in Iowa. And so they were like, "Ooh, you know, who is this person?" So I said to my mother, "I don't want to be Indian anymore. I just want to be American. Because, Mom, I just want to fit in. I don't want to be the other person in the room all the time." And it hurts, you know, as a kid to not be accepted. So for years, for 4 decades, I did not go back to India. My parents would say, "Hey, you know, let's go back. Let's visit friends and family," and I wouldn't do it. But in the year 2008, I was running my own advertising and marketing agency. And my business was down because it was the big recession. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I thought, well, it's going to take about 2 years for the recession to abate. So why don't I do something productive with my time? Now, my husband had always said, "Honey, he is not Indian, and he loves my stories about India that I would tell him." And he would say, "You know, these are really interesting. You should write books. You should write short stories." And I would say, "Oh, I'm a hack. I write advertising. I write marketing for a living. I write PR. I'm not a literary person." And he would say, "Honey, all you need is a couple of classes, and I bet you could do this." So for the 2 years that the recession was on, I enrolled in a master's program in creative writing, and I learned how to write a novel.
Sure did.
Oh, wow.
It was very intense. I did all the homework. I mean, I was so diligent. And at the end, I came out with The Henna Artist. But then it took me another 8.5 years to get that novel published enough so that it could go to a publisher like HarperCollins, and they said, "Yes, here's a contract."
Wow.
Did
that
you have
was
someone?
a journey.
Did you have someone in your life who there was that connection that Mira and Sona formed together? Mira saw something in Sona.
Yes.
That is.
Yes.
And
that is so prescient that you said that, because I think all throughout our lives, there are people who see things in us that we can't see in ourselves. And I know that has happened to me in my life. People who said, "You can do this." You know, just like my husband saying, "You could write a novel." And I would be like, "What? No, I can't write a novel. I don't know what you're talking about." But when people see those things in us, it is so important for us to somehow follow through on their advice, and then to just explore and take the risk and do the thing that they think we're capable of.
I would say that awakened something. It was there.
Yeah.
But it awakened it. And that's what Sona had, those traits.
Yes.
But Mira awakened them.
And I'll tell you something else. I never intended to become an author. I wasn't a kid who wrote in my journal every day. I didn't make up short stories that I was always reading to my parents. I had no idea I would end up writing novels. And so I think when it happened, just like you said, it was something that was waiting inside me, and as soon as I could unleash it, I had no problem coming up with characters or stories, and I never once have had writer's block because
Really?
the ideas just keep coming.
The one character I really liked, and I liked the way, well, there were two patients in the hospital in addition to Mira, and one was Dr. Stoddard,
Yes.
who I just thought you did a
Charming.
great job,
Absolutely
creating
special.
him.
Just
yeah.
a remarkable man.
He was wonderful.
Yes.
The other one, which I thought was hilarious, you have some humor in your books too, was the woman who was feigning illness
Yes.
so she could be
Mrs. Mayta.
hospitalized to get away from her father-in-law.
I mean, haven't we
And
all
they
been
would
in situations?
try
Yeah.
to send her home, and she would just want to be, just please, one more day, let me be here. And her husband fully understood
Yes.
what was going on, but he
Yes.
couldn't do anything about
Yes.
his father.
Yes.
He was kind of stuck in the middle of that.
Yes, to realize what's going on.
Yes.
And that when the patient, the woman who wants to get away from her father-in-law, when she is acting up, that she needs to bring the husband and wife together to an understanding. Yeah.
Sona has tremendous empathy.
Yes.
But one of the things that develops in her over the novel, she develops empathy for herself, I think. Don't you?
That's really perceptive. Yes.
Sona had such a journey, such an adventure of discovery.
Right.
I followed it along. It was so exciting. It was really...
Yes, her adventures along the way were so much fun for me to figure out. Some of those adventures, by the way, are things that happened to me the first time that I traveled by myself in Europe. Remember all those years ago in the 70s when all we had was let's go Europe, and we used to get those rail passes and travel all through Europe. Sometimes we got taken by people. Sometimes they stole our luggage. Sometimes, they took advantage of us, and other times people were so kind. And so these are all things that are happening to Sona.
Yeah, and she experienced both sides of that. She had some things stolen, and she also met a lot of people who helped her along the way, like you said, at the embassies. And
Yes.
And every one of them is interesting. All the characters, the people she meets along the way, they're all interesting.
yeah, they are.
Yes.
All interesting.
Yeah, you do a great job.
I love these
Developing
characters.
I want to meet
people.
Paolo.
I know,
He's
me
like such
too.
I want to meet Paolo.
Me too.
Did you have a character, a person in mind?
Okay,
A man?
so here's what
Come
I
on.
do, and this is what I recommend to anybody who wants to write. Search the internet for the person that you see in your head as this character. So I search for photographs, and I search for the most handsome Italian man I could find to be Paolo.
Yes. So very, very well. It's an exciting book. I encourage all of our readers to get this book, to read this book. It's a great adventure, discovery, a journey. It's so many things. Thank you. And you make it fun. You're a wonderful guest.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming. We appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate being here. Thank you so much. It's my pleasure.
Thank you.
Well, thank you all for joining us this morning on Eyes on Books. I hope you enjoyed our interview. I'm sure you did, because we sure did. And I hope you consider reading Alka Joshi's book and her trilogy before this book, which is also a great read. Okay, we'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you.